Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. I've been working a lot on hardy trees lately, getting them all pruned up over the winter, getting them ready for spring. Today I thought I'd do something a little different. I'm going to work on a tropical tree, and the tree I'm going to work on today is a jade, and I want to repot it. Here is a look at the jade that I'll be working on today. It is the Baobab style jade that I got from Joey. It's been exactly a year since I worked on this tree last, pruning it up, and let's have a look at it today. All right, let's get the jade unwrapped. It's a little bit cool out today. There's a bit of light snow in the air. There it is. There's the jade today. It's filled out nicely. Here is the front of the tree. I put a marker in here last time I pruned up the tree, which was a year ago. Let's go back in time now, and I'll show you the highlights of the last time I pruned this jade up. I'll start by spinning the tree around. Now this is just where I placed it, so this is what I'll call the front for now. So we're coming around to the left-hand side here, coming around to the back, coming around to the right-hand side. You can really see where it was cut off in the right-hand side view there. And around back to the front, which again may not be the front of the tree. It's just what I'm calling the front for now. I've got all my pruning points nice and flush now, so that should heal quite well. We are back to present time. Here is the jade today, and you can see that the branches fan out nicely now. They're not all crossing and that. So it's recovered nicely from the pruning. I'll rotate it around 360 degrees now. So here I go, going clockwise. So there's where the tree was cut off at the top. And you can see it's starting to heal nicely. It's quite nice actually. You can see some of the places where I moved branches on the trunk have healed over really nicely also. Now I do have a few of the older leaves that are turned a little black on the tip. I think that's just older leaves and they're starting to fall off. They're starting to rot away. There's a few yellow ones in here. They just almost fall off in your hand. There's one in here that's already fallen off. But the tree looks good and healthy. Branches are developing nicely. So today's task will be to repot the tree. At the present moment, the tree is in a ceramic pot, and it does have a small drainage hole in the bottom, but it's not, the ideal pot for it. I searched around all the pots I had, and I tried, placing them in front of the tree. And I couldn't find a better pot. I just didn't have any. So I thought, well, I'll keep my eyes out and maybe someday I'll find the perfect pot for this tree. In the meantime, since then, I was given some pots, some really, really nice pots by a very kind person from the Toronto Bonsai Society. And I thought maybe this one pot would suit the tree perfectly. So let's get it out and have a look at it. Here is a look at the pot here. So it's a very, very beautiful pot. I'll show you the bottom of it. Here is a look at the bottom of the pot so you can see the intricate feet, the details of the bottom. Really, really beautiful. It's a beautiful pot, beautiful patina, and a beautiful burnished kind of look to the pot. So this is made by a famous Japanese potter. It's sold under the name Bigi, I think, B-I-G-E-I. It's a tokonami pot, and it's a fairly rare one. I'll show you the details of the potter. Hirata Asumi is a very popular potter from Tokonami, Japan. He produces mostly unglazed shohin and some chuhin-sized pots. They are often simple in design to complement the tree, yet beautifully constructed. He is best known for his distinctive shaded vermilion clay with its burnished look. He also produces some glazed pots, and his recent work is decorative with, for example, beautiful landscape etchings, carvings, and relief work. He was born in 1939 and taught himself the art of ceramics from age 19. He established his own kiln in 1975, which is now closed. The very rarest Jade pots are merely marked San Sumade and can be seen under the Jade painted pots. The pot has the single marking on the bottom showing it's a rare pot, and this marking means earth and water, which makes the clay. I like this style of pot for jades because jades are very top heavy, and this pot has the rounded edges on it. So you can imagine this full of roots. There's no way it can tip over because the root base is trapped underneath this lip. It makes repotting a little harder. You have to go in and cut the roots around the edges so you can lift the tree out of the pot. But jades generally don't need repotting for many years. Probably it can stay in this pot for maybe 10 years. Let's have a look at the tree behind the pot now. So here it is. Here's the pot in front of the tree. I think, it's about the same size, maybe just a little bigger in diameter than the old one. It's a little shallower. It's unglazed, which is nice. And it's a reddish color. And I think the reddish color works for two reasons. Red is the opposite of green. So we've got the green foliage, the red pot, contrasting. The red also reminds me of the red sand of Africa. So I think it goes really, really nicely. I think it's a good combination. So thank you very, very much for this pot. It's a real beautiful pot. I'll really treasure it. I'm putting a tropical tree in this pot because I don't want to risk it cracking if it freezes. So that's the reason I'm putting a tropical tree in here. So this pot will be around for at least the rest of my life. Here's a look from above so you can see the comparison in size of the two pots. They're pretty equal. They're not too far off. It may be just a little bit bigger. It'll allow the roots to grow just a little more. I'm going to begin the repotting of this jade. I want to mark the front of the tree on the tree itself. So you can see here's where I marked the front. So I'm just going to score a little bit. Put a nick in the trunk there. Like that. That marks the front of the tree. This scarring, I will eventually scar the trunk up on this so it looks more like a baobab, which is the style that I'm going for with this jade. So let's get it out of the pot. I'll remove my front marker, and then I'll have to run a knife or something around the edges to loosen it up in the pot. I've got my butter knife here. I'm going to try that and see if it works. And I don't know when this tree was last repotted. I think Joey potted it into this pot, or it's possible it came in this pot. I don't know. I'm hoping there's some surface roots on this jade that I can kind of expose a bit. That would be nice. It'd give it a nice stable look in the pot. Oh, it's loose in the pot. Okay. All right, here I go. I'm going to try and get it out now. Now this pot doesn't have that rounded edge on it, so it should pull out okay. I don't know if there's much of a lip. No, there is a bit of a lip on the inside of the pot, so it might be a little harder. I might have to do a little more scraping away here. There it comes. Coming out very nicely. Look at all the good roots on it too. That's awesome to see. There's the drainage screen. The old pot was quite a nice pot. I think I'll put another jade in this pot. It seems to hold them in quite nicely. So I'll save that for another jade. Everything is looking good on the jade so far. The roots look like they're in good shape. So I'm going to begin by combing out the roots. So I've got my root rake. I'll just comb away the soil, trying not to break off all the fine roots. Now jades, it takes a long time for a root to get woody. You know, it has to bulk up. So most of the roots on a jade plant are very fine little feeder kind of roots. Now I'm going to switch to something finer. This is maybe even a little too coarse a rake for these fine roots. So I can either use like the point of the scissors to get in here and kind of comb out the roots a bit, which works quite well, or you could use like a knitting needle, something fairly sharp. A root hook would work really well, but this works really well. So I'm just kind of combing the roots out. Now, speaking of soil, Jerome and Mari from the Bonsai Supply sent me some samples of some of their pre-mixed bonsai soil, and in those samples there's a shohin mix with smaller particles than the regular soil, and I thought this would be a good place to use that with this jade. A good free draining soil mixture. So I'll give it a try. It's in the polyhouse now, which is quite cold, so I better bring it in this greenhouse and warm it up a bit before I start adding it around the root base here. Here is a look at the soil I'll be using, so you can see the particle size here. It's quite fine, but it has very good aeration. So it's a mixture of pine bark fines, black lava 1/4 inch, pumice 1/4 inch, calcinine clay an 1/8 inch, and it's mixed together to make an all-purpose soil mix. And all these aggregates are pre-washed, pre-sifted, and sourced in the USA. And the bag is made from recycled materials. So that's pretty good. That's really good. So that's what I'm going to be using as a soil with my jade. So it looks, the old soil had a lot of sand in it and fairly fine particles, but you know, there is this good rough, looks like pumice in here, which is good. It's always drained well, this soil, which is important with succulents. You don't want them sitting in water all the time, especially in the winter time. In the summer, you know, you've got sunshine, hot weather. They generally use up a fair amount of water each day, but in the winter time, when it's dark and cloudy, they're under sort of dimmish grow lights, and they don't really take the water up very well. So you can see all the fine roots in here. So those are the ones I'm trying to keep intact, keep in good shape. Those are the feeder roots. I don't want this to be too dramatic a repot for the tree. So you can see on the trunk, I tilt it up, it's not quite round in this view. It's a bit square here. I think it's because there's probably a major root here that's kind of feeding the trunk line. So hopefully, you know, after this repotting, I'm going to have a look at the root system and maybe try and balance it a bit. So we'll get maybe more of a round trunk on the tree. I mean, it's not bad, but it's one thing to watch. That's what a balanced radial root system will give you, is a round trunk on a bonsai. If you have roots all on one side, your trunk will go out of round. Or if you only have a few roots, like 3 roots on the tree, you'll kind of get a triangle shaped trunk rather than a round one. So I would say, from the looks of this, that the soil, you know, it's quite damp. I would say maybe a little too damp. I certainly wouldn't want it any wetter, because I haven't watered this for a couple of days now. I don't think I've watered it since we had that really sunny day. I'm seeing some good surface roots here too, which is really exciting. That's what you want. It makes the tree look mature and stable in the pot. So it's nice to see some mature roots on this jade. An added bonus. And it's got a very shallow root system too. amazing. I think it'll go in the new pot really, really well. This is very exciting. And this is exciting getting it in the new pot. It's like a step ahead for this tree. And there's many steps to go in this before it becomes a really awesome looking jade, but you know, it's headed in the right direction. The branch structure is better now. You'll have this beautiful soil, beautiful pot, and spring is coming. So it'll have good growing conditions. Now, I think I'm going to clear away the old soil and continue working on the roots. So the scientific name for these jades is Crassula ovata. And this is, I think, I don't know the variety, I think they call it Gollum, I believe, or Hobbit. There's some kind of variety with these cylindrical kind of leaves. I think they're the best jades for bonsai. They kind of have that miniature appearance to the leaves, especially as the tree gets larger. It can look very, very nice. There's nothing wrong with the oval-shaped leaves either. They can look good too. But these ones, because they're kind of thin and cylindrical, I don't know, they just look a little more miniature, I think. But I think, you know, any jade can be made into a really fantastic bonsai. So I just about have all the old soil cleaned off the tree. I'm just kind of getting underneath now and getting the last remains of soil out. It was definitely wet under here. Like I'm getting the remains of the original soil. This was probably started as a cutting maybe long ago. And there's some perlite in here. A different soil at the base of the tree. A wetter soil. Probably more like potting soil. So it's good to get all that out because that can cause the base of your tree to rot. You should have a good porous soil under the base of your tree. Okay, so I'm at the point where I need to wash these roots now to get rid of all the old soil. I don't want any of this, you know, nursery soil in here. I want it to be all surrounded by bonsai soil. So that's my next step, wash the root base. All right, here I go washing the roots. I've got a toothbrush in case I need to scrub away the roots. Washing the roots won't hurt the roots at all because they can dry out right after you wash them. It's when the roots are sitting in wet all the time that they start rotting. So here I go. I'm going to wash the roots now, swish the tree around, wet my toothbrush, and I'll start scrubbing. Like I said, I want to get all that nursery soil out of here. So it's just pure bonsai soil surrounding the root base. And that'll stop rot starting. Because the rot starts in these areas in here that have nursery soil. And it just stays too wet even though it's surrounded by bonsai soil. So you've got to get a consistent soil mixture of a nice, good free draining soil. Now, I'm going to get my scissors again and just poke around in here, making sure I get all that soil out. You can see it in there, in between the roots, holding moisture, and that's where the rot will start. It's that fine organic soil. And I don't want this tree rotting out. I think it's going to be a really special tree. So yeah, I'd highly recommend inorganic soil and then feed your plant with like a water-soluble fertilizer like Miracle Grow or something like that. So you keep those pores open in your soil. If you start using organics, it'll slowly clog up the soil over the years. And something like a jade, you don't have to repot them very often, so it's important to use good soil and not have it clog up. So I'm pleased with the root system that I have this many kind of thick surface roots. They look really, really good. There's another dead root. That one's alive. Okay, I think I've got the roots nice and clean now. They're looking really good. So that's it for washing the root system. Here is a look at the root system. So I marked the front of the tree here. So you're seeing the front of the root system. It's quite nice. I don't think, I'm not sure if this root's alive here. No, it's not, it's broken. But the stump is. Most everything else is alive on it. Maybe not that one. But yeah, it's good. I could expose the roots a little bit. So I'm very pleased with that root system. So let's get this tree potted up now. Okay, so I've got the screen from the previous pot right here. That can go in there. I'll add a base layer of soil. And you can order this soil through the Home Depot. It has to be an online order. It's not sold in stores, but it's sold on their website. So, and I use this soil on my ponytail palm, and it seems to be working really, really well. So I'm pleased with it. Okay, so I'm going to add a base layer to my pot now. That's quite good. I'm going to test the tree in the pot and see how it's sitting. See if it even fits in the pot. Well, it does fit. So you can see it's sitting out of the soil just a bit, so I'll just wiggle it around a bit. So that's about as low as I can get the tree unless I prune some roots, which I don't really want to do. If you prune roots, you're opening a new cut that you have to let dry out before you kind of water the tree again. So you would have to keep it on the dry side until those roots have calloused over, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then start watering the tree. It could be done, but most of these roots are at the same level, so I would have to cut them all. And I don't really want to do that. I don't think it's too high in the pot. I think it's actually about perfect. So I can position the tree in the pot. Now with the pot, I have two choices. I could have the foot out front so it's face on to the viewer, so they're seeing one complete foot front on, or you can have them each side. A lot of people like having the 1 foot out the front. I kind of prefer them on the angle. I think they're more interesting. I think it shows the shape of the foot more. Oh, I'm leaking soil up to my wire holes. The soil is quite fine. Is that going to be a problem? Maybe it is. Maybe I've got to put some screen over my wire holes. The soil is fairly fine. So let me dump the soil out again, and I'll start over. What I'm seeing here is that I think this drainage screen is too coarse and that this soil goes through it, and it does. So it goes through the wire holes and the drainage screen. So what I think I'm going to do is put a coarser layer of soil on the bottom of the pot and then my finer soil up top. I think that'll solve all the problems. The only other way I could fix it is use like the finer window screen and put it over my wire holes and my drainage hole. But I think it'll be better with a coarser layer of soil in the bottom. I think I have my bag of regular size bonsai soil from the Bonsai Supply. I don't have much of it left, but I think I have enough for a layer in the bottom. You can see it's much, much coarser. So there's my coarser drainage layer. And I know every book and every modern study will say, oh, you shouldn't put a coarser layer in the bottom. It's better to have an even soil mix. And maybe so scientifically, but this has worked for thousands of years, having a coarser layer in the bottom. I think it's good for the trees. 2 reasons. You have 2 different soil types. You have a finer and a coarser. This has more air spaces between the particles. So the roots have 2 kind of zones to grow in. They have, the finer upper layer, which generally holds more water, and the bottom layer, which has more air spaces. So I think it's good to have that, that difference in soil, so the roots can kind of grow where they want to grow, where the moisture levels are right or the air levels are right. So I don't think it hurts. If you have the smallest possible pot on your tree and you're trying to get the maximum amount of soil for root growth, maybe you don't want a drainage layer. Maybe you want an even soil mixture throughout the pot. But I think it'll be fine for this jade. Now I have to decide if I want the foot in the front, which doesn't appeal to me. I like the foot each side, left and right, with the space underneath the pot. I just like it better. From the front, if you have the foot in the front, to me it looks like the pot's unstable. Whereas if I have the 2 feet out front, it gives a look of stability. And it shows the foot off on the angle, which I think is more interesting because you can see more of the detail of the foot. Whereas if it's front on, you can't tell, what shape the foot is. It kind of makes it flattens it out. So for that reason, I'm going to pick the front of the pot to be in between the feet. And I'm just rotating it around to see if there's a spot on this pot that looks even better than the other 2 views. I think this is the nicest front. The other fronts had little pinholes in the clay and stuff, and I think this is the nicest front. So this will be the front of the pot. This is the front of my tree marked by my little scar there. So I'm going to put the tree in the pot, rotate it around, trying to get it as low as possible, about there. And I'll want to center the tree in the pot. I don't want it offset because this will be quite a symmetrical planting. I think right about there is good. And is the trunk vertical? Maybe there. Okay. So that's looking good. I will fill it in with soil now. Using my spare hand. If I can grip it. Oh my goodness. Put some around the back now. These bags are kind of handy for pouring. The Bonsai Supply has been very nice to me. They sent me some pots. Jerome and Mari, I've met them in person. They're very nice people. I saw in their last video they just announced that they're bringing out a new organic fertilizer. So if you're in the market for an organic fertilizer, contact the Bonsai Supply and they'll let you know when it becomes available, where and how to get it. So I know a lot of people like using organic fertilizer, especially on, deciduous trees, coniferous trees. It's very popular. So they bought out their own. So that you can see the tree is sitting in the pot by itself now quite nicely. So I've got to get all this soil worked into the root base so I have no air pockets. Get it underneath the tree. So I'm not poking the roots with these scissors. I'm being very careful. I'm just kind of gently getting the soil down. So the tree is positioned a little bit to the back of the pot, which I like. It gives a little more room out front to kind of give that landscape feel. So I'm going to add a little more soil now. It's kind of gone down underneath the tree there. So I guess you could say this planting is a collaboration between the Bonsai Supply, Mari and Jerome, and me, Nigel, at the Bonsai Zone. Kind of cool. Spoons are also good for smoothing out soil and troweling it around. So that is a really nice height in the pot. I'm liking it. All right, I think it's time to stand back, have a look at the planting, see how it looks in its new pot. Here is a look at the Jade in its new pot. Yeah, what do I think of it? Well, I like the color of the pot with the Jade. I think it's going to bring out the green color nicely, especially in the summertime. This will get darker. It might get some hints of red in the tips. I think that'll look good. I think the size of the pot is really nice too. I think the style of the pot is nice. I don't think you could ask for more. It gives me the impression of a bit of a landscape with the tree. Especially if I lower the camera a bit, you can see it more at ground level. I think it has a bit of a landscape feel to it. Just enough, room underneath the tree to, give that. It makes the tree look like it's growing by itself in the middle of the African savanna. Gives that baobab vibe to it. So I think it's looking good. I'm not going to prune it today, even though, it could use a little sorting out. I can see a lot of branches that are starting to kind of grow the wrong direction. A few crossing branches here and there, but basically it's not too bad at the moment. So we'll let it recover from the repotting, strengthen up, and then we'll tackle the pruning probably early summer. Get it sorted out, then let it grow over the summer. But I think it's looking really nice. I'm very, very pleased with the pot and the tree combination. I am going to give the tree a watering, so let's see how well the soil drains. So here I go. Seems to be draining really, really well. It's not pooling up or anything. It's draining right through. It's coming out the drainage hole now. Yeah, that's working really, really nicely. Okay. The tree is watered. I got some small red rocks as a gift, and I think they would look really good underneath the tree. So I'll go in and get them, and we'll try it out. Here is my collection of these red rocks. So I think they're pretty nice color with the pot. Where to put them is the question. I don't really want to block my roots, but they are just kind of temporary. I don't think they'll be, going with the landscape. Maybe one of them. I don't even know about that. But yeah, I'll just kind of place them around the tree, and it'll help hold the tree in the pot. Just in case you accidentally bump the pot, it kind of adds a little bit more stability to the tree. Like that. Tree's nice and secure in there. Okay, so that is a successful repotting. I'm going to add a marker to the front of the tree just so I remember where the front is in the future. So right there. So I've got the front marked. Let's fly in now and have a final look at the tree. I've only done 2 operations on this Jade so far. The first operation was pruning the top structure, getting the branch structure sorted out. The second operation was cleaning out all the old nursery soil from the roots and replacing it with nice bonsai soil. So that should grow a really nice and healthy, vigorous root system, which will help develop the tree also. So that is all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.